Tales of the Dark.
This is Tales of the Dark by Commander Lore Apuron. Just another war. Just keep your hands where I can see them. Patrick said nothing. Why are you here? Actually, how are you here? You just disappeared.
You probably thought that I defected, that I went somewhere else to escape it all.
Hard to believe anything other than that. No one heard from you. Your signature hasn't been traced on any comms. Either that, or you were long dead. He thought. Either way, he didn't care. His friend was gone, and that's all that was a certainty to him at the time.
Amazing what a name change and a database wipe can do.
But why? The sound of a sliding glass door in an adjacent room both caused the two men's heads to turn towards the source. Footsteps were approaching. Dayton returned his attention towards Patrick.
Better make your choice, Commander.
Commander Dayton took in the surrounding area at Devaraja Industrial Base in the Barathaona system. Its rusted metallic walls and a layout that took into consideration efficiency above all else barred no semblance of differences that set it apart from other settlements. The planet too was dusty and barren, and he swore he could feel the heat of the local sun seeping through his Dominator suit. What a shithole, he thought. Good thing I won't be here for long. Dayton pulled the lever to his left on the interior of his Scorpion SRV, and the door opened. Upon standing up, he was immediately greeted with a burst of dusty wind that glided across his smooth, transparent helmet. He would have to clean the inside of the SRV later. But then again, what's the point? As if the next mission he would be sent on wouldn't have the same outcome. Shaking the thought out of his head, Dayton headed towards the rear of the Scorpion to retrieve his necessary mission equipment. The interior of the hatch was neat and organized. He preferred an orderly way of doing things. He did not prefer to linger. In and out, efficient and direct. He retrieved his energy link, profile scanner, ammunitions, and, of course, his beloved long-range executioner. The sleek curves and angles of the jet black weapon had become his familiar.
Let's pray I don't have to use you,
he said aloud, the helmet distorting his voice. Closing the hatch of the SRV, Dayton commenced a steady pace towards the base. Dayton, as per usual, set himself up on the rooftop of the industrial building within the settlement after sneaking by a security guard on the outer perimeter of the base. He was well hidden, yet close enough that he could overhear a conversation between two of them.
All right, mate. You're off the hook. I'm reporting in for watch. Thank God. My body's been screaming for some shut-eye. Tell me about it.
Shift change. Perfect timing, Dayton thought. That would mean he could piggyback off of one of the guards as they entered into the research facility for their initial check when the time came. Sneak in, and no one would be the wiser. But first, he had to get there. That was where his target was. He stowed his executioner on his back and prepared to run the rooftops. Before doing so, however, he peered out to get a better idea of the other guards' movement patterns and visual range. He studied carefully, with intense focus. They're running an Alpha T2 watch pattern. It just gets easier and easier. This job, this routine, was his life. He had become so familiar with his line of work that it had become near thoughtlessness to do what he did. His thoughtlessness, too, applied to more than just his routine. Life itself became something that he could effortlessly take away. The line between him doing so and not doing so simply relied on his desire to do or not do it. It did not matter whether he was in the sky with his corsair or on the ground with his executioner. The action itself was easy. Dayton stood up and began sprinting towards the southern end of the building he was currently atop. He was attentive towards softening the sound of his boots against the metal roof, lest the personnel beneath it became curious. With one smooth motion, he used his right leg to thrust his body upward, floating forward for a couple seconds, boosted his thrust pack, and landed on the roof of the adjacent building. The lower gravity nature of the dusty planet made it easier for him to ease into the landing.
Just one more over,
he thought, as he made sure to keep his head on a swivel. Once more, Dayton boosted himself off of the roof and landed on the research facility of the settlement. As he predicted, a security guard was heading for the doors to carry out his required initial checkup on the interior of the building. All that was needed for his next move was a little patience and a lot of finesse.
Come on. Come on.
The guard was now only 30 feet away, oblivious to the peeking head above a rooftop environmental conditioning unit.
Now.
Dayton skirted around the conditioning unit and carried out a smooth rollover motion to swing himself down behind the guard and into a crouched position. The guard didn't notice. Dayton looked beyond the guard to see if anyone would be coming from the opposite direction from inside the facility, but he spotted no one. He inched forward until he found himself at a stack of supply crates in the corner of the room he was in.
Now, where are you?
Thought Dayton, as he checked his HUD in an effort to locate his target. He discovered that his target was on the floor above him, with no one else around. There was a person in the adjacent room on the first floor, likely a researcher, but that shouldn't concern him. Dayton waited patiently for the guard he was following to enter into the room and for the doors to close behind him. Swiftly but gently, Dayton made his way up the flight of stairs, keeping low to reduce his chances of being detected. He was now at the top of the stairs, with the only thing between him and his target being another set of doors. The doors hissed open, and Dayton lurched forward, drawing his kinetic sidearm as he did so.
Stay where you are.
The man he had his sidearm aimed at was a tall and lanky man, in his mid-30s with brown hair that matched his eyes. He was mid-pouring himself a cup of coffee when he turned around to view that the man had approached him. It was apparent he was stunned by Dayton's actions, but he did not flinch, nor did he call for help. He just stared at him.
Dayton? No way.
Dayton thought. He was taken aback. He knew this man well. He was his target? It had to be some sick joke. His mission provider must have surmised that he had known his target and sent him in particular. No, that wouldn't make sense. That would compromise the mission. The answer, then, was likely coincidence. Dayton lifted his helmet off of his head with one hand.
Damn, Patrick? I can't believe it. Explain to me why I'm on a mission to terminate an intelligence operative for the Federation, and you're the indicated target.
Patrick was unbelievably calm, to the point where he peeled his eyes away from Dayton to finish pouring his cup of coffee.
May I have a seat?
He said, as he gestured towards the table that rested between the two of them.
Fine. Just keep your hands where I can see them.
Patrick said nothing. He simply walked over to the table, pulled out the chair, and sat down.
Why are you here? Actually, how are you here? You just disappeared.
Patrick turned his head to gaze out the window at the nothingness that the planet's surface was. He finally spoke after some time.
You probably thought that I defected, that I went somewhere else to escape it all. Hard to believe anything other than that. No one heard from you. Your signature hasn't been traced on any comms. Either that, or you were long dead.
He thought. Either way, he didn't care. His friend was gone, and that's all that was a certainty to him at the time.
Well, you'd be right. Amazing what a name change and a database wipe can do.
Dayton was stunned. This was Patrick, here before him in the flesh. They had fought so many battles together during the Second Thargoid War. They did so, most importantly, under the Empire's banner.
But why? You don't see why? Of course. You just need another war to fight, don't you? The Empire certainly provides plenty of those. What are you talking about? The Empire is corrupt, Dayton. They're ridden with corruption. Ashling, Arissa, they're all full of it. They preach, and they preach. They propagandize their way of treachery until you begin to believe in it yourself. Can't you see, Dayton?
Dayton took a moment to truly listen to what Patrick was saying. It was true he had spent many a night tossing and turning in his bed, yearning for those days when his path was clear, when it was him or them, humanity or the Thargoids. Life was simpler. It was orderly. It was direct. While he could have an argument that he could pursue listening to further, he could simply be buying time or slinging a persuasive argument just to save himself. But no, that wasn't Patrick. At least, not the Patrick he knew. The sound of a sliding glass door in an adjacent room both caused the two men's heads to turn towards the source. Footsteps were approaching. Dayton returned his attention towards Patrick and stepped forward in preparation to take the shot, right between the eyes. But he was definitely hesitating.
You don't have to do this, Dayton. There is life beyond the killing.
The footsteps were approaching the upper door to the floor they were on.
But if it's another war you need to feed, then so be it.
They were at the door now.
Better make your choice, Commander.
This has been Tales of the Dark by Commander Lore Apuron.